Greetings, Marvel movie fans. I think it is time to talk about the movie that more or less kicked the Marvel Cinematic Universe into the mainstream. Let's talk about the first Avengers movie. And I return to the subject of Loki. And before you ask, no, I have not seen any of the TV shows because I don't really like watching television most of the time. Anyway, our favorite chaotic whatever trickster god was the subject of my first Marvel video, where I showed that he was a pretty good planner in that movie, using a plan that, by all rights, should have worked. However, this movie, his planning ability is not that great. Indeed, dare I say it, it might actually be non-existent. Now, he does do things throughout the movie, but I don't think he himself did the planning. And of course, neither did Thanos, because there was no way he was paying attention to Earth this early, even if more than one Infinity Stone was there. I am fairly sure that when Loki teleported in, he probably didn't know what he was heading into, but had a vague idea. After all, the Rock was in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s hands for a good long time, and he knew it. However, you will note the arrogance he displays to the different people he encounters.
We have no quarrel with your people.
An ant has no quarrel with a boot.
You planning to step on us?
He clearly thinks he is better than humans, behavior that persists throughout the movie, no matter how many times he gets embarrassed or smacked around in it.
And I will not be bullied by that. Not today.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Puny god.
Never gets old. But since I doubt he has a lot of knowledge of S.H.I.E.L.D., I do not think he had all that much to do with the assault on the helicarrier. His whole plan seemed to be to get the Tesseract and safely use it to bring in the Totori, and I'm fairly sure that is where his plan ends. He never seems to be up to any more tricks, he has no contingencies, and he doesn't even properly lead his troops. It's kinda clear he just wants to fight and be seen fighting. He probably figured that summoning the Totori was his victory condition, and that once they arrived, he has won. And to be fair, he is bringing a sizable army from a technologically superior civilization with little to no warning to the country and the world at large. However, he did underestimate the heroes and their capabilities, which is a bit silly when you knew one of them all your life, got a feel for the skills of another, was told the skills of a third, and are familiar with the strength of a fourth. Even if he knew nothing about Captain America or Iron Man, he knows most of these characters by reputation. He knows the kind of power he is opposing, yet he doesn't seem to account for them. He has no idea what else this planet has in store for him, or what other opposition he could face. Him being this confident after all the crazy crap he already knows is here?
Not a great plan.
I mean, Thanos has to know about the Time Stone and the Reality Stone. Was the Reality Stone on Earth at the time? I don't remember, and I really do not feel like rewatching Thor: The Dark World to find out. And that is completely unaccounted for in this plan. And come to think of it, why did Thanos let Loki have an Infinity Stone? Through the series, we learn the locations of the rest of the stones, and this one is the only one that Thanos had beforehand. It just seems kind of odd that he would lend his only rock of infinite power to a person that he doesn't know and clearly doesn't trust. And postscript, where was the Mind Stone before Thanos got it? It was probably in some TV show I didn't watch. And all this to say that while Loki is the instigator and the final boss of this movie, I wouldn't really say he's the main threat. The attack on New York was mostly the work of the Totori, probably using skirmish or raid tactics since they didn't know what to expect when they jumped through the portal. And as I said before, Loki wasn't really leading them before or after he opened the portal. And beforehand, when he takes his fight to S.H.I.E.L.D., he isn't really in charge in dealing with things, on account of being in a cage the whole time. No, the main mastermind, at least in the first half of the movie, is Hawkeye. Think about it. Loki is placed front and center, a stark contrast to the Thor movie, where he was mostly in the background, and where his plans were more well thought out. Here, he is mugging for attention at every opportunity, while Hawkeye seems to be doing the real work. Even at the beginning, when the two are confronting Fury, Loki seems happy to monologue over and over with Fury, while Fury awaits their stalling as the Tesseract explosion builds up right above them. It is Hawkeye who calls Fury out on this, and gets Loki to shut up and move on.
I kind of think you mean the other thing.
Sir, Director Fury is stalling. This place is about to blow. Drop 100 feet of rock on us. He means to bury us.
Well then.
And later on, it isn't Loki who conjures up a small army out of nowhere. It's Hawkeye.
Where did you find all these people?
S.H.I.E.L.D. has no shortage of enemies, Doctor.
Though that quote did make me wonder at the time if they were supposed to be Hydra. But after the revelations of Winter Soldier, now I do wonder if these people were actually opposed to Hydra. Did Hawkeye get good guys to serve the bad guys? Awkward. Hawkeye was doing that thing with the eyeball while Loki was off getting captured, so he got the iridium that they needed to make the reactor thingy. And then we have the assault on the helicarrier. Loki's contribution to that was to stoke the fires among the team for a bit. Something that was already being accomplished. Yeah, as it turns out, you don't really need Mind Stones to get these people to fight. However, it does seem to do enough just to get the Hulk going. And since Hulk seems to have a marginal amount of control over himself later in the movie, considering that he knew who to punch and had the wherewithal to save Tony's life, even if he wasn't particularly gentle about it. Though that might be the difference between the unwilling transformation happening here and the willing one further in. And the last thing Loki did in the helicarrier fight was separate Thor from the rest of the team, and that seemed to be taking advantage of an opportunity rather than something he actually planned for. In the end, Loki's contribution to that fight amounted to occupying Black Widow for a bit, and then occupying Thor for a bit before Hulk took himself out of the fight, while thoroughly soiling the trousers of that poor pilot there. Then getting rid of Thor and killing one solitary S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Wait, he suddenly has the staff here. Was that what he was doing the whole time? Looking for the scepter after it was probably flung from the control room after the first explosion? Last we saw the staff, it was in the room with the Avengers when Hawkeye blew the engine. Maybe he was actually let out much earlier in the fight and was actually spending the whole time looking for the staff. Hawkeye, on the other hand, seems to have organized the attack in the first place. He took out one helicarrier engine with a single explosive arrow and hacked a second engine. Not only did this take both Iron Man and Captain America out of pretty much the entire fight, but he did succeed in crippling the ship, severely hampering S.H.I.E.L.D.'s ability to help. He set out to eliminate S.H.I.E.L.D. as a factor, and he succeeded. He probably would have done a lot worse had Black Widow not caught up with him and hit him really hard on the head. Twice. Heck, it's possible that only Black Widow could have done this, as I doubt Hawkeye would engage any of the others, since, after all, he's just a guy with a bow and arrow, and this isn't Marvel vs. Capcom. So really, Hawkeye was the main threat of this movie. As for the two of them, he was the one with the big picture planning.
I gave you this detail so you could keep a close eye on things.
Well, I see better from a distance.
Kinda lucky for Loki to arbitrarily choose to mind control him, considering how useful that he ends up being. And thus ends another one of my Marvel musings. I hope you have enjoyed this. Take care, friends. I have hair sticking up on its side, aren't I? Burger, burger, burger.